Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. So John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another live stream here, inspired live stream actually. And let's get something not out of the way, but in the center of our focus here. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. This is more important than ever. This is the mantra of the Inspired live stream. Repeat it with me. We're healthy. Let's say I am healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm whole, I'm free. People have said that they've been using this mantra and it's been really feeling great and doing wonderful things for them. I think it is important. What do mantras do? What do thoughts do? What do inspired actions do? It's quite a big thing that can be done through it. And we'll talk about it a little bit more today. Welcome, Lucas. Welcome, Sitting Kitty. Welcome, everybody. Please feel free to share this with your friends and family. This is, I think, very important. We are going into the next hot phase. Welcome everyone in the live chat. Christine's the wise thumbs in the wife chat. Yeah, honey, in the wife chat. In the live chat. We got Cora Connect here. We got Firas Aka. I'm sorry if I'm butchering probably names here, so I'm not going to even try anymore. Welcome everybody. Okay. The data shows me, not just the data intuition, and what others that are very tuned in and undisturbed, this is important, undisturbed, are receiving. So we're having kind of a collection of data points from intuitive people all over the world. And what these data points are showing us, that we're entering a whole new phase of intensity, information, warfare on the next level. What we're going to experience in the next months, I believe, is so overwhelming that our minds will not be able to process some of these things, not in terms of how horrific the information may be, it's just the sheer amount of contradictive information and kind of a tsunami. This is the time we've been prepping for, my friends. This is the time we've been balancing ourselves for, and harmonizing and leveling up. And this journey of leveling up has to continue, because what is going to be more and more obvious to more people is the truth. And the truth is both liberating, but it's also absolutely so disturbing when you see things for what they really are, because your whole perception of life, the life story, the human story, and what you thought this was all about, and what you thought the world was, and what you thought history was, and what you thought everything was, is going to be challenged in such intense ways. And a lot of people will go batshit crazy. A lot of people will go batshit crazy. We've seen nothing yet. And that's not a projection. That's not a vision. You have to understand there's a difference between imagining a scenario and looking at the dominant data points that are available and being able to interpret them in a meaningful way. That's a whole different thing. If you sit there and you worry about the future and you have a fearful vision of the future, that's one thing. But if you look at data points, and if you look at behavioral points, and you look at what is projected at this moment in time in terms of consciousness, and then you connect all these dots, you can interpret that in a meaningful way. This interpretation shows us that we're going to see basically the trajectories of, I mean, it's going to sound extreme, of heaven and hell right next to each other. You're going to see the closest proximity between those two states. And I'm using these very duality kind of words for a reason. You're going to see this beautiful light path so clearly, because more and more people will emerge that are just pure. They're pure in heart. They've cleaned out all their bullshit. They've done that. And then there will be the darkness. The veil will be so thin. It will all coexist right next to each other. That's when we're getting to the coincidence point, the coincidental point, right? Where these two paths coincide right next to each other. It's going to be epic in many ways. And I don't mean bad or good. It's just going to be epic. And you will need all your clarity. You will need all your health. You will need all your energy to focus on the important things, right? We haven't seen the pinnacle of the battle yet. The pinnacle of the battle is yet ahead of us. And it's going to be so much different than any of us can imagine. because the path to that, the path is not quite clear yet. So we don't know where it's going to come to a pinnacle. We just know that it is not here yet. We can tell this from the data points. And I want to quickly, because we talk a lot about the beautiful path, the golden path, the path of humanity that is of pure humanity. But a lot of the people out there that are just beginning or have, kind of jumped on the awakening journey in the last few years, they don't know what we're dealing with. So sometimes we need to hear things clearly. I want to give you a clip here, 2.5 minutes, I believe, of just a little bit. And I want you to tune in with all your senses, but also with your higher sense. Not invest, just tune in so you can perceive what is being transported here in this clip. Okay, so watch this.
After the revolution of the 19th century, what humanity basically learned to produce was all kinds of stuff, like textiles and shoes and weapons and vehicles. And this was enough for very few countries that underwent the revolution fast enough to subjugate everybody else. What we're talking about now is like a second industrial revolution, but the product this time will not be textiles or machines or vehicles or even weapons. The product this time will be humans themselves. We are basically learning to produce bodies and minds. Bodies and minds are going to be, I think, the two main products of the next wave of all these changes. And if there is a gap between those that know to produce bodies and minds and those that do not, then this is far greater than anything we saw before in history. And this time, if you're not part of the revolution fast enough, then you probably become extinct. Once you know how to produce bodies and brains and minds, so cheap labor in Africa or South Asia or wherever, it simply counts for nothing. Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food to feed everybody. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless. My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
What we have to confront is a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process. You will own nothing, not even your body. You will own nothing, not even your mind. You will own nothing. We will own everything. That, of course, we don't say out loud. So this is a part that they never say out loud, by the way. You've heard that slogan, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. Why didn't they say we will own nothing and we'll be happy? Because they're not included in this equation. But I want to get much deeper than these platitudes that Klaus Schwab is putting out, this James Bond movie villain, this, the first person, for those of you who don't know, is Yuval Noah Harari. Your regular author, psychopath, researcher, scientist, whatever. And the thing about Yuval Noah Harari is this is not an isolated mind. He is a spokesperson, a representative of this kind of thought and school of thought. And you have to understand that the people who've been driving the economic, political, and socio-economical agenda, which is big technology. I mean, they've been on the forefront driving the conversation over the last 30 years at a minimum, right? Since the advent of the internet in public, they've been driving this conversation, big tech. This is what these architects of this new society on the front, in the back, there's something else, right? We're talking about much more sinister beings here. But in the forefront, this is what they're advocating for. Their perception of humans is that they are but servants who have fulfilled their, or slaves, if you will, fulfilled their role over the 20th century to build out these structures that they need in order to bring in this new revolution. I mean, the smirk on Yuval's face when he talks about meaningless, useless, right, and how he says these words, it shows his complete hatred of humanity. And if you could pull off the meat suit off of Yuval, you'd probably see that there isn't a human in there. It can't be, or at least there's not a spirit in there. But this is what we're dealing with, and this is what we're dealing with in the boards, in the boardrooms of these corporations, of these huge faceless corporations that are running the tech show. This is what they are working on. It's a singularity state, where singularity means that their version of AI, their version of big tech, is completely in control of you. And you, because your labor is not required anymore, or just very little labor compared to what it used to be, become meaningless and useless. And they're saying it, and look at the world over the last 3 years. What kind of agenda has been playing out? Remember the Georgia Guidestones? Remember the guidance on population? Remember these things. We have to finally come, and we have to finally look the truth straight in the eye and not look away anymore. I can't tell you how many people, when you're having these conversations, are telling you, I don't want to hear about this. This is crazy. They would never do that. Who are these people? Why would they do that? They already have all the money. They're so misguided because they don't feel truth anymore. And if they feel it, they can't fathom it. And so they just reject it without really going deep enough. And I understand it. We've been on this journey for many, many years, and I've had many sleepless nights. When I was coming to grips with the real extent of this conspiracy, if you will. And I don't believe we're quite there yet to understanding it fully. But I'll tell you this, I understand that when you first discover these things, that your mind shuts off. It can't comprehend this. It's, at least if you have a real spirit, your mind can't comprehend this, because you can't possibly fathom such evil, such disregard for life, for creation, for creativity, for spirituality, for a spiritual connection, for the Creator, for God. None of this is really imaginable to anyone who has a spirit. And perhaps our willingness to imagine it, or unwillingness, is a good thing. But our unwillingness to see it for what it is isn't. And we have to finally see the truth for what it is and what we're actually up against, because that will point us to the real solution. And the real solution, my friends, is not in going out and bringing your guns and your sables and whatever you want to bring and fight this in a kinetic kind of way. The real solution is our consciousness. It always has been. Really understanding, because you can understand the enemy. It's important to really comprehend what the enemy is, how the enemy operates, what the agenda is. Yes. But if you don't understand yourself, you lost the battle right there. We are so much more powerful. We always have been. They're using our own power against us. I've been saying this over and over again, but what we're about to enter will require you all to see through the fog and the bullshit, and remember that every single day. Every single day you have to remember that your true power, your consciousness, your God-given consciousness, your creative power, your co-creative power is the antidote to these things that we see here and see in the world. And there's a good chance that if you haven't yet, you will literally face off with these dark demonic entities. You will come head to head with them. And if you fall into fear, uncertainty, even 1%, the chances of you walking away as the winner of that battle are very slim. You have to stand in the complete 100% truth of who you are. And then when you face off with these dark forces, you have a power inside of you that literally burns them, that you then are capable of using. But this, I project, will happen to many. Almost everybody comes face to face with this at one point. It's like a part of this journey now. And as the veil is becoming so thin, and as the border is becoming non-existent, the boundary, this will happen. And it doesn't always happen the way you think it does. It doesn't always happen by some foreign enemy coming your way. Sometimes it happens within you. It happens in a dream. It happens in a process. It happens in a meditation. It happens in prayer. But there is always a time when we face off with that darkness. And that's when we have to shine our light the brightest and realize what we have been given and how long this battle has been going on. It is coming to a standoff right now. We're literally coming to the battle lines here, and we're facing off individually and collectively. And if we allow, just like Max Siegen said in our recent interview, if we allow hatred to enter our hearts, we lost the battle. Because this is what this enemy knows. The enemy knows it doesn't matter if you hate him. The enemy doesn't care if you hate him. It doesn't matter to the enemy, because that's still the energy the enemy feeds off. You can hate him, you can join him, that's all good. But realizing your own power, stepping into it, your God-given, creator-given power, that's what the enemy really fears. And this is what so many people are still not willing to do, stepping into their own power. They're looking for someone else to do it for them. And it cannot happen. This is an individual journey everyone has to make. You can walk according to your beliefs. You can walk with Jesus, but Jesus cannot do it for you. And I know there will be people who will want to crucify me for this, but Jesus can't do it for you. You have to accept that inside of you. You have to breathe it into you. You have to realize that this is an inside job. And then all these stories will get a new meaning. They will actually finally get the true meaning of why we've been told these stories and why the truth has survived through the madness. What made the truth survive? We have to see this, friends, and we have to see it now. There is no more decades to wander and hope for. The time of hope is over. The time of knowing, of standing in truth, that's the time we're in now. Hope is weak. I'm not saying hope doesn't have a place, but hope is weak. It's very weak. It's the last stand that people have. We have to step up our game in meaningful ways. This is important. This is really important because these people are organized. They don't have creative power. They're just copying what they find in us. They're just copying our creative power and they're using it. They don't have that. We have it. And we have to take that back. We have to take that back right now. And every time that you spew hatred, every time that you point fingers, every time that you blame someone else, every time that you make yourself the victim, you give that power away. Every time that you point to someone out there who's going to fix it for you, you give that power away. Every time you wait for that someone who can fix it for you, you give that power away. God has already given everything in the beginning. In creation, all was given. We just have to learn to see it again, accept it in us. It was already given. The pleas and the bargaining with the Creator to help us. Why? When it's already been given, the Creator's already given it. Why not finally accept it in us and then walk the path and see how that plays out? It's a completely different way of life. This is it. We all have to step into our own power now. It's 100% personal responsibility and self-reliance on a spiritual level. But what is the self? Not the ego, not the John Smith or Mary Johnson ego, not the human ego, the true self, the spiritual self, the eternal self, the God self. And I'm not saying I am God. I am an expression of God, like you are. And with that expression comes consciousness, comes energy, comes divinity. We have to accept that. We have to accept that that's the truth. You must be like that which you came from. You must have that spark. And you do have it. But most people go through life never igniting it. And when they, by accident, ignite it, they get so scared because that spark shows them truth from lies. It separates the wheat from the chaff. And people are not willing because it means to completely alter your lives, to repent, to change your ways, to walk away from everything that is not truth. And that is painful to the human ego. It's painful to our overinflated human selves because we don't want that. We want the comfort of what we know, but what we know has been a lie. And what we've been subjected to has been a lie for the very, very most part. Not all of it, but most of it. This path is narrow. And yes, the eye of the needle is small. So what? So what? All it takes is true north. 1 degree off of true north will get you somewhere completely different. And this is the times that we're in. If we want to get this right this time around, because you, us, we might all have been on this journey before. We didn't get it right before. We can now. We can now. We can now. I know this. I know this, my friends. All right. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for allowing for this expression to happen and for also, walking with this. A lot of people will email us later or comment later and say, hey, this found me at the right time. That's all I can do. I can trust that, when I give thanks every morning for the Creator to express himself through me and to put the right things in front of me, and I give thanks for my ability to see it, that's all I can do. Do I fall short? Sure. I'm human. So of course I fall short. But every day it gets a little better. And if I steer away from that because my human ego wants to be right about something or ignore something else, well, then I just put my ego in check, right? And that's what we have to do. That's part of the human journey. I also want to give thanks to you all, which, I just did in many ways, but also thanks to our to those who have joined us on this journey, in many different ways. And one of them is a locals platform. And, they are such supporters of free speech. Some of our friends have joined recently, like Kathy O'Brien, and it's, in a sea of censorship and lies, it's just a beautiful thing to have that opportunity to go on there, do our Coffee and Truth and Honey Talk live streams. We're going to do a Honey Talks today where we can just talk freely, not in code. And they are, today they're putting out a little campaign and it's called Support Free Speech. So if you want to give this a try, inspired.locals.com, you get a month off for free. Just use coupon code Support Free Speech. I see these as very valuable tools in these times. I do think eventually we will reclaim the space for free speech. But right now, I'm thankful for Locals, a platform that has allowed us to express ourselves freely. Just give me one moment.
There's one spot left for that.
Oh, Christine just said, we thought we're sold out. One spot left for the Yada retreat. So if you go to our website, Inspired Channel, theinspiredchannel.com, you can see the Yada retreat sign and see if this speaks to you. It's happening next week. Next Thursday is the beginning for 4 days. We would love to have you. Tribe. Fear is not the way. Fear is literally the opposite of love. And there are only two motivators for decisions in life. It's either fear or love. And you can say on the surface, it's not called fear. It's called, just being smart or being careful. When you break it down, it boils down to either fear or love, where our choices come from. You can never go wrong if you make a choice from love. You can never go wrong if you make a choice from love. Much love. Many blessings to you. And we'll be back with you again very soon.